Some of the best businesses out there are born out of something that impact us so deeply on a personal level. This was the case for Leon Wu, CEO and founder of Sharpe Suiting, an agender luxury clothing label that creates custom and ready-to-wear clothing for people of all body types. Leon identifies as transmasculine, and he built his company because he saw a need in the community as well as a gap in the marketplace. Friends, this is truly a fascinating conversation, and I invite you to slow down and tune in because you are watching Transcend, building success as a trans business owner. Well, Leon, thank you so much for chatting with us today. How are you doing?
Doing great.
Hey, listen, I love your company. I love Sharp Suiting. I love what you stand for, that you make suits and custom clothes for people of all body types and all genders. So tell us a little bit about how you got your start in building a fashion forward company.
First of all, thank you so much, man. That really means a lot. I always had this passion that I wanted to bring, um, fashion to people in my community. And the way that I wanted to do that was to allow people who identified similarly to me, which was masculine identified or masculine of center at the time, to be able to feel confident and sexy in the clothing that they're wearing. And I decided that to do that through custom clothing because it was the easiest thing to do, and it was it's a very kind of a monumental article of clothing. When you wear a suit, it's for a special occasion. A lot of friends were starting to get married at that point, and they had no alternatives of where to go that they would actually feel good about. So queer fashion and making this company fashion forward for me at first was to address that gap, which is what I just talked about, and make people feel comfortable. But as we began to get rolling with the company, it was more of a visual activist kind of movement where I wanted to change things, not just socially, but also technically as well. We have the opportunity, by partnering with companies like Dapper Cube and Equality Fashion Week, who put on these amazing runway shows, to do visual activism on the runway. And queer fashion has really been, a force in putting different body types on the runway, uh, more people of color, and people of all types of gender and queer identities.
Well, who are some of your business icons or style icons that you looked up to as you were modeling your company?
Steve Jobs and Elon Musk. And I think that what I really like about their style of entrepreneurship is that they create something that they want for themselves, for their standards, right? And maybe other people don't even care about this right now, but you care, and that's what matters. I think if you care, and this is anybody who listens to this about something, then it matters. So create it, and somebody else will want it too.
How has your sense of style shifted through the course of you running your business?
Before my transition, I was very much a fan of like kind of button-down shirts. I think a lot of masculine center, butch identified, or masculine identified people like to wear button-down shirts, and they're a little bit bigger. But now, like I've become more comfortable in my body. I kind of like more fitted clothing, like a nice fitted T-shirt. That's something that I would just not shy away from before.
As you and I both know, for a trans person, being referred to by the name with which you identify can be such an affirming thing.
Mm.
So talk to us a little bit about what it means to you to be referred to by your true name, and also maybe a little bit of the history of your name.
For anyone who's cis-identified, who is given a name that they identify with, they don't have this experience where most of their life until they choose their name that they actually identify. They don't have this experience where they feel a cringe when somebody says your given name, your birth given name. And it's interesting because I did have that feeling. And, after talking to other trans folks, they have this feeling too, right? Um, so it's almost all the way up until I was 21. I was referred to by my given name. And it just always 21 years of cringing to your own name. And then when I was in 21, I joined a drag king troupe, and I joined an experienced group of performers. There was three other performers, and I was the fourth one, and I was a newbie, right? And they're like, "Oh, you gotta come up with your drag name." And I'm like, "Well, how do you pick a drag name?" And it was simple for that first drag king troupe. It's just whatever you want your name to be, you know. And I gave myself the name of Leon because that was the name of my favorite film character, Leon the Professional. Great movie. I think it was in the 90s. And I really liked that film character. He was really tough, but he had a big old heart. And that was kind of the masculinity or the man that I knew I wanted to be. I knew very quickly, performing masculinity, that when I came off the stage, I wanted to stay in character, you know? And really what it was me celebrating who I was when I was on stage, who I actually was. So when I came off stage, it made me feel like I can be like this all the time.
Leon, that's great. I want to thank you for being such a trailblazer in the industry and such an incredible person. I appreciate your time and thank you so much for speaking with us today.
Thanks a lot, Sean. I really enjoyed our time today, and definitely hit me up later.
Absolutely.